welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm talking about finding your purpose. So we're going to talk about finding your calling, your superpower, your gift to the world, the reason you are here and living this earthly existence. And I think for a lot of people that is a bit elusive. This whole what is my purpose can sort of have us a little bit stumped, because for the majority of us, we aren't maybe born into this world and automatically drawn to one type of career or one type of creative outlet. We maybe have a few different things that makes our heart sing, or perhaps we thought we wanted one type of career and it turns out that you do all the study and at the end of it, it really isn't your thing. And you know, that's okay. It's okay if you have not found your purpose. You would be amongst many people, because I think ultimately from the readings that I do, most people don't really know what their purpose is or their reason for being here. So my top tip for finding your purpose would be happiness. It sounds really straightforward, but really not enough of us do this. So if you wake up on a day-to-day basis and you absolutely dread going to work, or your living situation does not bring you any happiness, or your partnership, your relationship isn't what you had hoped it would have been, then you really need to start to alter some situations in your life. So a lot of us put up with this overly compromised energy. Now, we all have to make some compromises in life, and that's fine, but I'm really talking about the heavy, unhappy, slightly depressive, miserable, oh my goodness, what went wrong in my life type of energy here. So if you do wake up every day and you do have this dread for the life that you've created, then it is time to do something about it. So finding your purpose will come through finding your joy. So how do you find your joy? You know, really simple things here. Just do the things that make you happy. And people will say, well, that's all well and good. You know, if we had unlimited time, unlimited money, we'd all be doing the things that make us happy. But if you follow your happiness, the really ironic thing is that the energy, the vibration that we send out will then ultimately give us all of the circumstances that fit with that happiness. So ultimately, we would be in a situation where we would have enough time, we would have enough money to fulfill us and do the things that we ultimately want to be doing. But people don't trust that that's really possible. You know, it sounds quite impossible, but it really isn't. You know, anything is possible, because we do have a lot of power at our disposal when it comes to mindset and drawing towards us certain situations. So if we are doing all of the things that we love, and therefore we are in line with our higher self, okay, that means that we're in this higher energy where we should be finding our purpose. We should be living within the correct flow, okay? Now, you might be doing all of this and you're thinking, well, yeah, I'm doing everything, really happy, you know, trying to be as positive as possible, still got no idea what my purpose is. And here's the thing, your purpose doesn't have to be some kind of big elaborate display. It doesn't have to be this amazing career that then changes the world, you know. It doesn't have to be, for example, that you have to be this motivational speaker that inspires thousands of people. It could be as simple as you are somebody that smiles. Your purpose is to smile at people on a daily basis, and that smile and that knock-on effect changes lives without you realizing. Your purpose could be that you enjoy creating music and you think that, you know, you should be on big platforms around the world touring and sharing this music. But that's not necessarily the case. Perhaps it's just that you create this music and 5 people watch it on YouTube, and that's okay, because maybe one of those 5 people will be so inspired and go on to be that next Elton John. You know, I think we just are always looking, when it comes to purpose, from an egotistical point of view of, I want to be this person that changes the world. And, you know, that's nobody. Nobody changes the world on their own. Everybody as a collective changes the world. But if you hold this idea that your purpose has to be making a real footprint on the world, and, you know, everybody can see what you're doing and how you're contributing, that's maybe going to leave you disappointed, because the purpose that we have here doesn't have to be a type of end point. It could just mean that on a daily basis, you do simple things. Today, your purpose could be as simple as making a cup of tea for the old lady that's come into your hairdressing salon to have her fortnightly trim. And that alone maybe will lift her spirits so high that you give her a reason to keep going. Or perhaps your purpose is baking cookies with your child, and little do you realise, but that's instilling a love of baking for a future pastry chef. You know, I just believe that our purpose isn't something that always has to be huge. It's small things as well. And I also feel that if we're looking at this from a more spiritual view, we could talk about the higher self and obviously the physical self, the human experience that we have here. So I'm going to begin by explaining extremely simple terms about how our soul comes to this world and what it's here to do. We live this earthly existence as a human form. If I take myself, for example, Carrie, okay? Then there is the other part of myself which exists outside of this physical experience that we're living in, and it's the higher self. So I am effectively two parts, okay? I'm the part that lives this earthly existence, and the bigger part of me is my higher self that resides on a higher vibration, okay? So our higher self, before we come here to earth to be born and to live as Carrie, decides what it wants to learn in this lifetime in order to grow and evolve, and for our soul to then be able to take on new experiences and new understandings. So ultimately, we come into this world to learn a lesson, okay? And of course, there's many lessons that we can learn throughout that time, but with each of us, there will be one core experience, one main experience that shapes everything that we do while we're here living this earthly life. So let's take, for example, the idea that I'm here to learn unconditional love. In order to learn unconditional love as Carrie, the physical being, I'm going to have to also learn the contrast, which would be not having any love, not feeling love, being unloved, lack of love. Okay, so as with anything, in order to know how cold something is, we must first understand how hot it could be. In order to know how dark something is, we must first know how light something can be. So in order to have this core experience, we are going to attract to us the opposite, the contrast of that. And I think this is where we can get a little bit confused with our purpose and the situation and the circumstances of our life. You know, if you're going through a time where it just feels like everything, no matter what you do, is hard or is going wrong, you know, you must think of the higher self and look at the deeper lesson of these cycles that are repeating themselves, of what's happening and what it's trying to show you. So don't look at things as a negative that you go through. Don't look at things that aren't particularly happy and joyful and think, I'm never going to find my purpose because all I have is negative and awful things or challenge happen, because you will come to that point once you've learnt what you're supposed to learn in order to understand what is coming to you for your soul's growth. So it can be hard to wrap our heads around, but bad times are sometimes necessary in order to appreciate good times. I guess that's really condensing it down. You need the harder times in order to understand the good, okay? And when we're talking about purpose, I feel that all of us have this collective purpose to really be here in this human form and love one another, love everything. Love really is the collective purpose. So we might have our individual higher self purposes of why we're here, but ultimately I feel that the oneness that you'll often hear people talk about, and you know, if you don't quite understand that, it's, if you think of source, if you want to call it source of God, if you want to call it the universe, if it's just one thing, one power, we are all threads of that power. And these threads come down to earth and live out whatever experiences we need to here for our growth. But ultimately, we all go back to that same source. So we are all part of the same thing. And that's why you'll hear about the collective energy, because we are really the same. If you feel like you don't belong and you feel that you don't have a reason for your existence, you couldn't be further from the truth, you know? You need to understand it in the collective energy of you are a part of all of us, and we all need to work together to create a very good higher vibration. So how do you know when you've found your purpose? And it's very straightforward. When you're in line with your higher self, when you're on the right path, everything feels easy. It doesn't feel overly compromised. It doesn't feel unhappy. It doesn't feel draining. And I'm sure most of us can relate to being in those draining situations that just don't feel on a really deep level like they're for our greater good. So what you need to do is you need to look at your life at this moment, and if you can visualize yourself sort of 10 years from now based on how things are going, and you like what you see at that 10 years ahead, then that's great. You're obviously in flow with your purpose. You're obviously doing the things that make you happy. On the whole, you're in the right flow. But if you look 10 years ahead and there's things there that you think, oh gosh, I'm still going to be with that husband, oh my goodness, what if I'm still working for that company and it's still destroying every little piece of my soul? Well, then that's your big red flag to start to make some changes. You know, when I do readings, I look at somebody's energy in a psychic sense, and I get shown information of their potential future based on what's happening in their life at that moment. So if their life was to take that same trajectory forward and they were to keep doing what they're doing, I will be presented with the most likely outcomes. That should show you that we do have some control to create our life and to therefore put into place things that we ideally would like, and to put into place the things that will make us happier. When you're on the right path, when you're following your purpose, when you are in that correct energy, it should lift you up. You should feel inspired and motivated. Example, when I first started doing readings, it was all a bit crazy for me when I got into doing this work because of how I'd been transitioned into doing this work. But once I was in the flow of doing this work, I was still working in office jobs, and there was no question about me transitioning to make this my full work, because the office job didn't make my soul sing. It really didn't at all on any level. And this work did. So it was just this natural gravitation towards, okay, I'm gonna do more readings. And, you know, because I loved doing it, and because I sent out that thought, send me more readings, I love doing this, and because it made me happy, and because I was giving off this vibe that I feel like this is my purpose, the universe, the energy aligned so that I could do this work. Now, don't get me wrong, you might be in an office job that pays you £100,000 a year, and you might have this deep desire to pack it all in and become an artist, and you're thinking, how on earth am I going to make a living from becoming an artist? And the odds are that you might just make a very small living, but that shouldn't be a factor that dissuades you from following your purpose, because, you know, ultimately, if we can trust that it's the right thing, the finances and all the secondary stuff, and I know you're thinking it's probably the most important thing is finances because we live this material life, but the most important thing is following the energy. The most important thing is being in the right vibration, being in that positive vibration, because money is a mindset. So if you're in the positive vibration of doing what you love, the money automatically follows. So I see this a lot with readings. People want to go and start up a new career, but they've invested so much time, say, in a teaching career, that they feel that they can't just throw that all away, all of those years of training and the funds that went into, getting this qualification, and they've maybe got a family that relies on them, and they feel they can't throw that away because, what will they fall back onto? But here's the thing, if you can trust that finding your joy and following your joy will bring you into the right vibration for everything else to support you, then you have no worries. There won't be a situation where you fail, okay? Because failure, when we're going through things and we're failing and it just seems to be blocking us and we think, what is going on here? For example, I want to set up this business, but it's just at every hurdle, challenging me. Well, maybe that's a signpost that you're going in the wrong direction. And maybe failure is trying to push you in another direction. So you need to think about the most authentic version of yourself, where your heart truly lies. And if you were honest with yourself and you said to yourself, what is my calling? What am I here to do? I'm pretty sure that most of us would get something pop into our head. There's no limit on what our purpose and what our joy can bring to us if we're willing to follow it. Also, there's going to be people that have something that makes them happy and then maybe it changes. One day you just wake up and you don't really enjoy it anymore, and that's okay, because sometimes we're done with that experience. Maybe we've learned everything we need to, maybe we've given everything we need to that particular purpose for that particular time of our life, and maybe it's time now that you're slightly changing your purpose to fulfill a different experience within this life. So I'm not talking about core experience here, I'm just talking about your day-to-day purpose. Doesn't have to be the same thing. It could be just smiling at a random person, it could be helping someone with their shopping. So don't underestimate what you're capable of, because that's what we all do. We all think if we're not doing these big displays and grand gestures and setting the world alight on a daily basis, then we're not contributing, we're not making a huge difference. But we all are. Every single day we're making a huge difference, but we don't see it from that higher perspective that our higher self would. So we all have a superpower, and by that it could be something as simple as watering our herb garden because we're really good at keeping things alive, So I just want you to listen to your heart. Don't listen to others' judgments. Don't really buy into perceptions of what you should and shouldn't do in life. Just find your joy, live through your joy, find the happiness in everything that you do, and everything will fall into place if you follow the bliss. Even after all of these things being said, you still don't feel like you really know what you should be doing, you don't really know what your purpose is. That's fine. All you need to be doing is living. And I say this because more than ever, it's important right now to be living. We've got so many people that are sat at home watching mainstream media, living in fear and the collective energy of negativity that I'm sure most of you must be feeling. And it's not good, people. It's not good to live in that energy. It's not good to not live. It's not good to not have your soul growing and being free and really experiencing happiness and positivity on a daily basis. When we are out of alignment and we drop into the fear energy and the despair and the oh my goodness, what is going on with the world energy, it throws us right off balance and it puts us on a path that could potentially lead to illness. I find the really ironic thing with our current world situation being, if you're going to live in that fear and you're going to just play into all of that energy, then you're actually probably doing more damage. So yeah, it really doesn't make any sense to me why you would do anything that compromises living, why you would do anything that compromises your well-being, and you wouldn't just go about all of your normal things and live life to the max, because that is why we're here. We're not here, we didn't come down from source to live a life of sitting in the house and hiding away. We don't learn anything through that. So just remember to live and to enjoy every moment. And thank you for once again watching my video, and if you did enjoy today's video, please do give it a like. See you soon.